Okay,
Okay.
good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mónica Rodriguez Salvo from Argentina for giving us part of your time this Sunday. And thank you, Luis Bermudez in Ecuador and Carmen in England, and all the people who are listening to us and watching us in Facebook Live. Let me introduce our guest speaker today. Give me a second, please. Okay. Michael from Nigeria is coming. So Carmen, I usually post quotes before we start. So could you give us a hand reading this one, the first one?
This one, okay, sure. We must learn to regard people less in the light of what they do or omit to do, and more in the light of what they suffer. By Dietrich Bonhoeffer.
Yeah, it has to do with compassion. Anything to say, Carmen? We must learn to regard people less in the light of what they do or omit to do, and more in the light of what they suffer.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, compassion is one of the skills that more than ever we should show now. In this case of the pandemic, people are suffering from mental health.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of the biggest, the worst results, consequences from the pandemic. Unfortunately, the governments are not ready. We in the third world countries, we are not ready. We don't have the resources. We need, we really need to put a lot of money into that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Carmen. Luis Bermudez, the next one. Could you give us a hand, please?
Of course. Compassion is to look beyond your own pain, to see the pain of others. I cannot, I mean, the name, I cannot really read it. Sorry about that. John means something?
No, me neither.
Okay.
It's not that you need glasses, but
okay. Okay. No, I do need to wear glasses.
I know.
My doctor told me.
Okay. And the last one, Monica.
If your compassion does not include yourself, it is incomplete. So we are focusing here, I guess, on self-compassion. That is one of the most important elements. As you know, I am an expert on teacher well-being. And in fact, this aspect of compassion will be present in my presentation today, in one part of what I will be sharing today, because I think that it is high time that we stop waiting for government to offer us tools. Of course, it is their responsibility to do it. But in the meantime, I think that we teachers, we need to get together. We need to help each other out. We need to help each other lift up in a way. And this is going to be part of my presentation today as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, who is coming soon? Monica, Carmen, Luis Bermudez, Michael and Ginger Moran Hidalgo. Who's coming? Well, Edison Santa Cruz next Sunday, Father's Day. He will be talking about revisiting some speaking tasks. Then Monica Mulholland, do you happen to know her? Monica?
Yes, I know her. I love Monica. She's from Argentina, but she's living in the US and she has just graduated as a yoga teacher now.
Yeah, so she will give us some yoga classes, I guess. And then Thomas Collins from England, he will be talking on July the 4th. And one of the most interesting and beautiful things that is going to happen is this day. I hope everyone is present. We are going to have the new generation of English language teachers, students who are studying in different parts of Latin America to become English language teachers. Adriana Hidalgo from Costa Rica, Griselda Pulamarin from Ecuador, Susan Hernandez from Mexico, Jaimini Ahir, she's from India, but she lives and studies in Panama. Then Natalie Moritan from Argentina, Sharon Castillo from Peru, Maria Menendez from Guatemala, and Pilar Laime from Bolivia. Could you please, Monica, let those people in? Then,
absolutely.
Okay, and the last presentation of July will be given by Grazia Trantini from Italy, but she works and lives in Ecuador. Okay, so we have Monica back. Thank you so much, Monica, because it's a Sunday, you have a family to support, to attend, to pay attention, but you are giving us the most precious thing that we can give, time. So let me say a few words about Monica. Monica is a graduate teacher of English and sworn public translator. She holds a postgraduate degree in human resources management by Universidad de Belgrano and is a certified and accredited Neurolanguage coach. Monica is also a mindfulness practitioner graduated from University of California, UCLA, and holds a diploma in social and emotional learning from San Diego University. As trainer, she has delivered professional development courses on various topics. She specializes in social and emotional learning and mindfulness for education. She currently runs her own educational institution inspired Consultora Educativa, reaching out to hundreds of students and teachers in Latin America. She has been implementing social and emotional learning programs at education institutions for the last 5 years. She has also presented extensively in Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, Colombia, Brazil, Braztesol, IATEFL UK, Peru, Germany, TESOL France. Vous parlez français aussi, Monica?
Oh no, je ne parle pas français.
Vous devez étudier, s'il vous plaît. And Spain. No. With plenary, semi-plenary, and workshop sessions. She has authored 3 social and emotional learning sections and activities for different levels and books. So thank you so much once again, Monica, and the screen is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Jaime. And I want to say thank you for inviting me once again. For me, it is always a pleasure to share these sessions on Sunday, because you know, Jaime, how much I admire your initiative of having teachers from around the world together. So I am honored to be part of this circle and to be able to contribute some ideas. So welcome everybody. I will start sharing my screen right now. So you just let me know when you can see it so that I can start sharing my ideas and my presentation today. So what I prepared,
we can see Monica.
Thank you. So what I prepared today is based on the fact that our role as teachers is changing and has changed. I mean, it has been changing for many years now. But I guess what happened with COVID and this crisis that we are still going through has helped us understand that our role as teachers goes far beyond the English content we teach, right? And I guess that as English teachers, we've always had these in mind, because probably you all know that we English teachers have always been kind of avant-garde, right? We have always been bringing new ideas. In many cases, we use many different methodologies from other teachers, from other subjects. We have always been the ones that kind of brought the world to the classrooms, right? Because as English has always been an international language, we English teachers have always had this opportunity of sharing about the world with our students, right? So now, more than ever, I think it is high time we focus on reshaping our lives as teachers, thinking about student centricity. And because of that, today I would like to talk to you about agency, yes, about some reflections and some exercises to help our students become or be at the center of what we do, yeah. And in the second part, we'll focus also on some growth mindset approach for feedback with our students. We will focus during this session as well on some well-being suggestions, yes, for us, precisely based on compassion, as Jaime was sharing with us earlier today. So I hope you enjoy the presentation, which is aimed at having interaction with you all the time. Yes, I guess Jaime will agree with me that one of the richest aspects of these sessions is that we all come from different parts of the world, and we can all share our own perspective, our own experience from many different settings. This is a very diverse space, and I would like to take advantage of that so that you can all share your views, your experiences as teachers in different parts of the world. So let's get started. If you agree,
Just a question, Monica. Just a
I would
question.
like to speak about our Teacher Spark. Yes, we'll talk. Yep.
Sorry,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt. We can hear you, but okay. Now the image was frozen, but now it's okay.
Now it's okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank you for letting me know.
Your image was frozen, but everything is all right.
Okay, maybe my connection is not that good. Let me just check if I can connect to my cell phone, and maybe the connection improves. Okay. So in the meantime, as I was saying, in this part, I would like to focus on the concept of agency. Yes, agency in the classroom. I will also share with you a neuroscience concept that is about salience, yes, and what is salient in our brain. And of course, I will tap also into curiosity, right? The importance of curiosity in the classroom, okay? So this is going to be the first part only. First of all, we teachers need to definitely move from inertia to courage, yes? And I guess this is what we've been doing since the beginning of this pandemic. As teachers, we have been, I would say, even forced to get out of our comfort zone, to learn new ways of teaching, to learn about digital tools, to learn how to engage students online. So what I want to propose today is to use this power of change that we have been implementing because of the pandemic, but to move beyond COVID times. Yes, my proposal today is to reflect on our teaching career beyond COVID. Yes, so as to take advantage of the good things that we have learned during this period and make it part of our teaching, but not to survive COVID. Yes, to make it part of who we are as teachers forever, not only for this crisis. Okay, so that is the idea today. So let me tell you a little bit about curiosity, about agency, and about salience. These are the three main drivers of this first part of the presentation. The first one is, of course, curiosity, and I am quoting our beloved Sir Ken Robinson when he said that the gardener does not make flowers and plants grow. The job of a gardener is to create the optimal conditions for growth. And I guess that we teachers have the role of gardeners as well, right? We need to promote the conditions for learning to flourish, but then it is on our students' side to see how much they engage on that, how much they become accountable for their own learning, how much they become autonomous in their own learning. All these aspects that have truly been a challenge for them, right? Now that many of them are studying online, they had to learn how to organize themselves. They had to learn how to become more autonomous, how to organize their times, their responsibilities, their assignments. So again, my idea is based on let's take advantage of this movement forward that we are having as a result of COVID so as to make these skills life skills, both for our students and for ourselves as teachers. So again, this idea of the gardener, as we teachers being gardeners and guardians of these gardens where our students will flourish, right? Not for school results, but where students should flourish for life, not only, right, to pass tests, to have their international certifications, which of course in many cases is really important. But what we are doing is helping them build abilities, skills, and capacities for life. This is something that if you've been in other sessions, I always repeat myself when I say that teaching and educational systems are very much built on the idea of creating results within the four walls of the classroom, okay? Our systems of measurement, our systems of getting results are very much built around the reality that happens in a classroom, in a school. And in many cases, that is a different reality from the skills that are needed today out there, yes, beyond the school wall in life. That's why, of course, I have focused on develop social and emotional skills, because I truly believe that these are cross skills, yes, not only for English teachers, but to help them thrive in life, yes, not only in school, because we are quite good, right? All our systems, all our educational systems are quite good in terms of measuring results, right? We have our test batteries, we have our schemes for evaluation and assessment. So we have developed that. But to what extent do we teachers help our students develop their responsibility, their accountability, their empathy, their compassion for others, their solidarity, their relationship skills, their social skills, okay? So I wanted to start with this quote by Ken Robinson, because I love this idea of us teachers being gardeners, yes, guardians of what students have to flourish in the future. So first concept, agency. So what is agency? Probably you have heard a lot about this idea of students becoming agents of change. Yes?
Yeah.
Agents of impact. So this is a concept of agency. When we become involved in something that we care about so that we can make changes. And with this concept of agency, accountability is a very important factor. So agency is made up of different aspects, all these aspects that I am sharing with you on the screen. So we will go one by one, and I would like to hear also your own examples about each of those.
Okay.
One of the most important elements of agency is centricity. Do you remember, my dear teachers, I would say some years ago, and in many cases it is still happening, that we used to be the kings and the queens of the classroom. Remember?
Yes.
We came in and we had all the knowledge to deliver to our students. We were at the center of the stage in the classroom. Yes? We were the ones that had the knowledge about everything, that had the information about English. We were the queens and kings of our classrooms.
Yeah.
The good, bad news is we are no longer the queens and kings of our classroom. We should no longer be at the center of what happens in class, in an English class. Why? Because that is now the role of our students. What do I mean by this? let me ask you, my dear teachers, where can you find information about English today?
Everywhere.
Where do you find
everywhere.
information?
Everywhere.
Everywhere, yes.
Exactly, Luis. Everywhere.
And,
Why?
and
Why? Because information about English is available everywhere, and I only need 2 fingers for that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
2 fingers are enough to be exposed to information about learning English. Do we agree on this?
Yep.
But we also know, my dear teachers, that information is not knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Information is not knowledge. So our role, far from becoming less important because we are no longer the queens and the kings of our classroom, is becoming far more relevant because we'll help our students deal with all that information and make the alchemy of information into knowledge, into reflection, into something that is meaningful for their lives. Okay? So centricity is precisely about thinking that our students need to take a far more active role in their learning. And this is where we find the first challenge. Why? Because most of our students are used to this old way of teaching, okay? Where they simply sit down very comfortably and listen to whatever we have to say. If they become more involved, if they become more engaged and more accountable in their own learning process, this is going to be uncomfortable for them because they will have to become far more active in the process. Okay? So student centricity, this concept that we have heard so much, is basic for agency, okay? For our students becoming more involved and engaged in their own learning. I would like to stop here so as to hear your voice and your opinions about this first concept of centricity, the first element of agency.
Anyone?
What would you like to say? Any reflections?
We have some people, Solange, Susan, Mayrin, Michael, Lucine Preciado, Luis, Carmen. Anyone wants to say something?
Yeah, I mean, the role of the learner is central, right? Without the learner's engagement, there's very little we can do. But it is our role as teachers to try to get them engaged. Many times students are concerned, are worried. They are not ready to be in class because they're having emotional issues, so they cannot concentrate. So I think that our role is quite challenging to get them involved and engaged reading the classes. Otherwise, it's difficult, extremely difficult if we don't get them engaged. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you for that reflection. Let me just add something to that. Of course, our session today is not about emotional and social teaching and learning. But let me just say that there is, I have shared in other sessions that emotions can propel or hinder the learning process, okay? As our students and ourselves as teachers are going through such an array of difficult emotions these times, we really need to start our sessions working on emotions, yeah? Doing these very short emotional check-ins that I have shared in other sessions, giving them some space to kind of vent their emotions, because if not, that will be hindering, yes, stopping whatever we are trying to teach, okay? So we need to kind of transform those emotions, help them deal with them, because emotions are at the center of teaching. And we know that if they cannot handle those emotions properly, they will not learn anything of that beautiful lesson plan that you might have designed for them, okay? Because when we feel extremely worried, when we feel extremely sad, when we feel extremely stressed, or I don't know, anxious, all these emotions that are so common today, our brain, as Daniel Goleman used to say, is hijacked. Our brain is taken. Our cognitive capacities are not there, yes? So nothing that we teach them will stick because of their emotional states. So it is extremely important to have that about that. Okay, I guess there was someone else that wanted to share an opinion on this.
Yes, about the centricity, I could say that I am agreeing when say that is sometimes it's difficult to apply this to a student, but I consider it's not impossible. Okay, it's difficult, yeah, but impossible, no. There's a lot of information we can find through internet or in books. So I consider that I agree when people say that is difficult but not impossible. That's a work I as a teacher to find a great way to apply our knowledge to students.
Thank you, Lucine. Where are you from, Lucine?
I'm from Ecuador.
Oh, welcome, dear Lucine. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you. Go on. Anybody else?
I guess Luis was raising his hand.
Yes.
Luis?
Yeah. All these things that I'm listening from Monica, they're very interesting because she mentioned that we were kings and queens our classes and we're not. That's no longer true. Right. In the whole mock and the jock model, I don't know if you're familiar with that, because we were like the ones who givers to like recipients, containers of that knowledge, and that was the only role that they play in class. They were only containers of that knowledge, and that was it. But the recent trends demand for a model. We need to, as I wrote it that I wrote that in the comment section, that we have to put the spotlight in the student because we can also learn. And also, that
Exactly.
the most wonderful lesson, and still you cannot connect with the students because of a series of variables. And it is important that we also understand that, because we need to connect with our students as well at several levels. Well, of course, always in a professional manner, but still there should be some sort of connection between the teacher and student. So in order to that they really could assimilate that knowledge and also process it in a way that is beneficial, not only to them, but to everybody, because it's not only about them, it's not only about the teachers, it's about the whole community.
Just a minute. Thank you, Luis. Just a minute, Monica. Here there is a very important comment given by Rosario Leon Suarez. She's present here and she says, as a student, I feel like with the pandemic, a lot of teachers have become more understanding with us. And also they are starting to notice how well we can work by ourselves with their guidance. Very important.
Very important. Thank you, Rosario, for sharing that. And also Luis, I would like to add something else to these two ideas that I think are really very important, both Luis and Rosario's. And Luis was talking about connection. This has to be #1 priority in our classes today. And again, I don't want to focus on COVID times. I want us to reflect on our new role as teachers. And connection has to be at the forefront of what we do. There is no learning without connection. How do we know this? Not latest, but the compilation of more than 20 years of research on education and the way we learn, how we learn, has summarized this idea in the concept of relationship, okay? According to research, relationship is the #1 factor that affects the success or failure of any learning process. What do I mean by relationship? Your relationship with your students. And I am telling you that, especially at these times, our students desperately need this figure of an adult, of an understanding, caring person that cares about them. We care about them. We care about their learning process and results improve. Research says that relationship precisely is the #1 factor that will affect their learning. Our relationship with our students. This is about connection, coming back to your idea. Meaning, if we improve our relationship, our connection with our students, their academics results will boost, okay? There is a connection between the affective aspects and the cognitive results or academic results. We know this. The research, for example, on social and emotional learning also shows and demonstrates that students that feel cared about, that students that feel listened to, that students that realize that we see them, even through this screen, that we see them in the whole sense of the word, have better academic results. How much better? According to research, 11% better. Okay. So connection, relationships are crucial to this idea of agency I am trying to share with you today. Okay. So thank you for sharing. Shall we move on into the next element? That is the next element of agency, that is voice and choice. And this is one I love. If we know that students are at the center of what we do, we should consider options to give our students voice and choice. The voice of our students is not very present in the design of educational systems, in fact, yes? Educational systems in general are designed by educators, by politicians, that they create the policies, and in many cases, the voice of the student is not very present. What I am suggesting is that we can create a space in our classes to give students choice and voice. And let me be very clear about this. In many cases, yes, we cannot offer free choices, let's say. For example, if we ask our students a very much open question for choice and voice, and the question would be, okay, listen guys, we need to learn about passive voice. How would you like to learn about passive voice? Yeah, and then students might come up with answers such as, I want to learn passive voice lying on the beach with a drink in my hand. Okay, we know that that is not possible. But even if we offer them a limited choice, it is still a choice for them. Okay, so questions such as, listen guys, we need to learn about passive voice. Would you like me to design some visual activities for it? Would you like to watch a video on your own about passive voice? And when we come back to class, we start using it. Yes, this would be like a model of flipped classroom if you want. Would you like to start with an exercise and then we move into the theory? Would you like me to create a mind map of passive voice so that you can see it? Yeah. So we offer even a limited set of choices, A or B, but it's still a choice for them. And they would still feel that, okay, someone is asking me. If we really want to tack and to trigger agency in the classroom, we need to involve them, engage them in the process. Voice and choice is a very good opportunity for that, okay? For triggering agency in the classroom, even if it is a limited choice, because of course we cannot in many cases offer open choices, yeah? But my question is, and I would like you to think now of your own teaching and how you can implement voice and choice. I will give you a minute and I would like you to think about your next session. Think of the topic that you have to teach next. Where could you offer some choice and voice, even if it is a limited one? Okay, so take a minute for that. And please open your mics so that you can share some ideas about it. And we can think together about some strategies for voice and choice. And whenever you're ready, you can share with us in the chat. Or you can just tell us about it. Later on, I will be sharing some examples of some activities I've done with my students. So how do you think you can expand this aspect of agency that is voice and choice in your sessions? Any idea?
For example, at the end of the class, when I apply my knowledge about any grammar, for example, I teach passive voice, for example, at the end, there are a homework. I could say, okay, students, this is the homework. How do you like to do it? Here in class together, or has a homework when finish the session and you can apply that? I mean, this is a good example because
Excellent.
I get the option to students to select of apply the knowledge, the homework here together, and in that moment, they can ask me about some problems or another solution or how apply any phrases. But that's a good option because I get the option to select to do the homework together or at home.
I know what is an idea. And you know what I'm trying to tell you is that this can be a very simple action for us. Yes? But it has a lot of impact. Why? Because we are using power of inquiry. You have heard inquiry-based learning. It's precisely about voice and choice. It is about asking our students questions and listening to what they have to say. And this example decision, yes, the one that you are sharing with us about homework, would you like to do it together? Would you like to work on that and then we check together? How would you like to do it? Let me ask you something. If I ask you, how would you like to go about this? How do you feel? Do you feel well or do you feel bad? In general, we feel well because what this single question is telling me is about we have to You like to go about the homework, but you are empowering students with their own voice and choice. They have a space so they feel cared about. I guess there was someone else raising their hands, but now I missed it.
Michael, it was Michael. Before could you go on, Monica, are you connected to your cell phone or cable, or is it wireless?
Yes, it has.
Yeah, because sometimes your voice is cut.
Oh. In the meantime, we can just hear what was.
Yeah, don't worry. Don't worry. Go on.
Some comments.
Yeah, Michael, you were going to say something.
Yes.
Hello, Michael.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I am a bit emotional this morning because it seems Monica is talking to me directly.
Maybe.
Yes, this year I became a tutor and tutor of secondary 1. So, and looking at those that passed from primary 6 to secondary 1 during the pandemic, they are still babies, actually. Now, my role have changed. Talking about connectivity to voice and voice, first and foremost, I am not just a teacher, I'm now a guardian. I'm now a facilitator. I'm now a psychologist. In fact, to some extent, like yesterday around 10 o'clock, I have to receive a call from a mother for me to talk to her son. So the connection has become, will I call it, more than friendship, which we developed before the whole parents agreed to say, I should be their tutor. Now, talking about choice and voice, I have almost all the decisions we make in class as a group, 80% are made by the students. I allow them to make that choice, to make them feel belong, to make them,
Yes.
feel belong that this is theirs. They not just me, this is theirs. But at the end of the session, I'm going to ask you one important question because I'm feeling something, So the thing is, even though I'm their tutor, I'm also their English teacher. The question that I've been always trying to answer for myself and for them is, how can I make this not just, teacher perspective, but also student perspective, which is the connectivity you have talked about. Now, the choice and voice is now allowing them to be in the decision process of whatever we are going to do during the class, or even extracurricular activities. What are the things we are going to do? And when we weigh different opinions, we try to do a kind of democratic process whereby the majority will take the votes. And sometimes also, I also try to include the voice of the minority, in the sense that instead of doing one activity, we join, we do both the majority activity or majority accepted activity and the minority accepted activity to make everybody belong. So by so doing, the parents will now say that, Teacher Anthony, it seems that my students feel, or my children feel confident in your class, free in your class, more than any other person. So he asked their tutor, which I'm going to ask you anyway. I will keep the question what I'm going to ask you at the end of the recording. But what I'm trying to say is that I try as much as I can to bring or mix or combine both the voice of the majority and the voice of the minority as a group, so that everybody will feel belong. Thank you.
Excellent. And this is precisely about diversity. Okay. And it's really very important because it gives us, and thank you for sharing, Michael, this idea of inclusion. Yep. Because it also gives us the power of personalization. So why not precisely what you're saying? Okay, they might have different approaches, right? They might have different options. So maybe one group can work on that homework in one way and the other group in a different way. Why not? Yes. But this is not only about diversity and about hearing the voices of the minorities as well, but also this idea of personalization. Yes, that sometimes we have to be realistic. In many cases, we have very large classes. We have a lot of students. We cannot cater to every single student's needs. But if you give them two options, you will have two different groups. Okay, we agree it is not the ideal level of personalization, but it is 50% more personalized than if they just did whatever you say they have to do in the way you say they have to do it, okay? What is really very important about this concept of agency, and especially in choice and voice, is that we need to be as teachers very clear in terms of the non-negotiables, okay? So for example, the question is not, do you want to learn passive voice or not? That is not under negotiation. This is a non-negotiable. We have to learn it. But I am here as your facilitator, as your tutor, and I am listening to what you have to say, so we can adapt how we learn it. I always say that in English language teaching, in teaching in general, the most important question word we need to keep in mind is not what we teach, is how we teach it. The what we teach is really very clear. It is in our programs, it is in the curriculum, it is everywhere, okay? The question that makes a difference in our teaching is how, okay? If part of the answer to the how question represents the voice of our students, this is a huge, huge advancement, I would say, in our teaching, and especially the way our students learn. Why is it that I am so interested in this aspect of agency for our students? Do you know why? Because we have no idea what our students will have to learn in the future. We have no ideas what careers will appear in 5 years. Remember, I don't know, I would say 3 years ago or 4 years ago, do you remember speaking about, for example, media developers? Yes. Content media managers. These positions did not exist 3 or 4 years ago. The world is changing so fast that we don't know what our students will have to learn for the future. We have no idea because it is constantly changing. So, if our students become agents of learning, they will be able to learn whatever they have to learn for the future. Not only English, whatever technical thing, whatever tool, whatever, it's going to be okay. If they are agents of their own learning, they basically know how they learn. How they learn English, how they learn maths, how they learn history, how they learn robotics, how they learn whatever. So if they become agents of their own learning, they will be ready to learn anything in the future. Why? Because they will be able to identify, okay, I am a more visual learner. So I learn better when I learn doing mind maps and graphs and things. I am more of an auditory learner. So for me, it's better to learn anything through listening comprehension, for example, okay? This is one of the most precious gifts we can offer our students, that they can learn how they learn. And this is going to be a skill for the future. Yeah, that's why I am so passionate about this concept of agency, yes, in the classroom. Let me just move on into the other elements of agency I was mentioning earlier. Personalization, we have already talked about it, yes? Personalizing their learning. I know in many cases, it is not feasible to do a 100% personalization, but we can work on some level of personalization, even with large groups. Meaningful, deep learning. I will focus on these aspects when I move on next into my point of salience, okay? So I will go deeper into this. And motivation and autonomy. These two aspects have become the core of teaching and learning during pandemics. Yes, our students had to become far more autonomous than in the past and far more self-motivated. This is in fact one of the challenges we are facing, that many of our students have not found that spot yet, that spot of self-motivation. So they don't come to classes, they don't turn on their cameras, all these challenges we are facing when we teach online. But there is another concept that is not here in this list, and I think it is extremely important for agency, and that is the concept of agreement with our students. Agreement in terms of sharing as much information as possible about their learning process, agreement in terms of sharing with them why it's important for them to turn on their cameras when we are online. It's important we can see this creation, for example, because the movements, and we help them better in terms of focus. How times do we share with students? Okay, we just feel frustrated because they don't turn on their cameras. So my question is, have we come to agreements with our students on this point? Have we shared enough information? Maybe don't need their camera on 100% of the time, but whenever they share an idea, they turn it on. Yeah, this is an agreement that I wanted to share with you as part of the agency concept and our students becoming agents of learning. And I want with you this very nice that I learned last year. Last year I was in a very intensive neuroscience course by Dr. Mary Imordino Young, and she shared with us this concept of salience. So we know cognition and emotion both very important in the learning process. We know that, right? And as you can see, sorry, in this image, in hand, they are parts of the same part of the seesaw. Okay, we have emotion on one side, and the other side. When are we going to results for any learning process? We're together in the seesaw. But there is something in our brain that goes beyond cognition and emotion, and that is the Salience Network. Salience Network in our brain is what determines what is important, what is salient, what is relevant for us as humans. Yes? These are meant by the Salience Network. Jaime, I think that Raj is in the waiting room.
Yes.
The Salience Network, as I was saying, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me give you an example, a practical example about the Salience Network, because if not, it's like kind of a very theoretical concept. Every single week, we go to the supermarket, right? So, for example, I know that next time I go to the supermarket, I have to buy 1 kilogram of carrots, okay? This is my cognition making this decision. My emotion says, carrots are healthy for my family, and I want to feed my family with healthy food, okay? But when I go to the supermarket, my choice is to buy organic carrots, not traditional carrots. Why do I choose organic carrots? First, because I care about the environment. Second, because I care about small farmers and their own development. And third, because I also choose to have organic, even healthier carrots for my family. Okay? This choice of organic carrots is a result of my Salience Network. My Salience Network is telling me this is important for me. This is a value for me. So it's not only about the cognition and emotion in my decision, but it's about what I care, what matters to me. So maybe you are asking yourselves, okay, what's the connection between this and agency? There is a lot of connection, because if we are able to identify what matters to our students, what are the organic carrots in our students' minds, we'll be able to trigger agency, engagement, motivation, because we'll be transferring whatever we have to teach into their own world, what they care about. Is it clear why I'm sharing these neuroscience concepts with us? Because we really, yes, is it clear? Jaime,
Yeah,
what do you think?
clear,
Because it's a little bit theoretical and it's a little bit scientific, the concept, but it really matters in terms of how we engage our students. And for that, we need to know what is important for them, what is relevant in their worlds, so that we take our English lesson and we try to step into their world. If we want to create learning for life, we only learn about what we care about, what we really feel is relevant and important. We don't learn about those things that we don't care or we don't see the value, okay? So we really need to start incorporating these concepts into our teaching. And for that, the crucial aspect is that we need to get to know our students better. Do you know what your students' passions are? Do we know what they care about? What are those causes that they would like to fight for? What their values are? What are the movements that they are involved in and why? So if we really need to create agents of learning, we need to know them at a deeper level. We need to know them as humans, okay?
Yeah.
I want to stop here for reflections on this concept.
Good morning, Raj, in Canada. Anybody who wants to say something or ask something? Lucine, Luis?
Hi, Raj.
Yeah.
Luis
good morning.
Bermudez?
Sorry, my mic was off. No, definitely. What I like the idea of how they balance each other and emotion, because it's something that we tend to forget, because our forget that our students are human beings, and because they're human, emotional component that is in the class, not only when it's especially when it's face. And then we have to learn to deal with that. And I like the image. I like the what I was seeing. I was trying Italy, because I think that into that not only the upper and mid. Very nice that you share with us. I didn't know the person. What was his name? Doctor something something.
Dr.
Dr.
Mary.
Mary Imordino, I'm typing it in the chat. Young. She has done extensive research.
See, for
Maybe
example,
you have heard about Dr. Damasio, and she has done extensive research on neuroscience and education with Dr. Damasio as well.
Yeah, about her, but not about him. See, so this only proves that we learn we get to learn new things every day. It doesn't matter how time passes. There's always something new, somebody new in the field that says something that we didn't know before. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Monica, I appreciate what you're sharing. I'm sorry I didn't know today the session was going to be on, so I'm jumping in now. I think this is what even the Dalai Lama speaks about, balancing the head and the heart. You know, I think it's important that we look at what is intellectually important to students and what is actually at the core of who they are, how they've been raised, etc. So blending the head and the heart, this really brings together that. The last part I will say is how to create a relational educational system rather than a transactional education system. This is my job. I need to go teach, and I'm just going to go and teach. Versus a relational is, do I understand who is in the classroom and who is interested in what? Is that the kind of essence that you're communicating?
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more with this question of transactional or relational, in the sense I call it humanizing education again.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
yes.
And I think, as with everything in life, that is not one thing or the other. Okay, that there is a possibility of balance, of having what we call internationally a whole approach to education. And that if we can approach this whole view of our students, all our results will be better for them as human beings and for them in terms of academic performance. Okay. So it is about humanizing education in terms of understanding that we are dealing with whole beings. I think that education has so far been focusing, I call this the heads up education. Yes, from the neck up.
Yeah, right.
Only our brain or only our cognitive aspect. And I think that our heart, and this is the result of research. Yes, research has demonstrated that deep learning only happens when the cognitive and the emotional work together, one for the other, to propel learning. So these that I call humanizing education again is based precisely on this concept, Raj. So thank you for adding up to it.
Well, it's not, as I agree with you, it's not either or, it's this and this.
And
yes, yeah, this and this.
And this is it seems, and it looks so easy, you know, but it's a change of paradigm. Yes, we need to understand that in education, and I would go even further. Okay, let's take this concept beyond education. In the world in general, this is my personal belief and my personal approach. Yeah. These are no times of or education has so far. And all the time in the world, they are inviting us to be on one side or the other. It is one thing or the other. Yes, you are Republican or you're a Democrat. Here in Argentina, we are River Football Club or Boca Football Club. And these dichotomies do not add up to a new world.
Right. Yeah.
We need to create a world that is whole, a world of ands instead of a world of ors.
Separation, world of separation. We need a world of integration.
Exactly, integration. If you ask me, if I had to tattoo one word on my body, that word would be integration. Just to share with you to what extent I believe in this, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, we have some comments in the chat, Jaime, right?
Leon Suarez Rosario was congratulating not only you, but also Michael. She said that Michael's comments were inspiring because
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, because he's not only a teacher, but a facilitator and also a psychologist. And I think that we are a little bit of everything, and we are learning during this pandemic time, that we need to learn and learn and learn and thank God, because if we didn't have anything else to learn, what to do?
You know what I call this, Jaime? I call this the circle of learning. Remember at the beginning of our session that we spoke about we teachers in the past being in a higher position, yes? Remember that in classrooms, there even used to be this stand where we teachers stood up and we just looked down on our students and we just delivered the knowledge. And then we talked about centricity and how this needs to change, how it has changed to a student-centered approach. And this is precisely about thinking of a learning process as a circle, okay? We are facilitating, as Michael was saying earlier today, we are in a circle. We are also learning with our students all the time, aren't we?
Yes.
How many things do we learn from them? So it is no longer about different positions and hierarchies, but about a circle of learning. Where we are all sitting one next to the other, helping each other lift up from our gifts. In our case, it's English teaching, right?
Yeah, let me thank Luis and his students, I guess. He says Rosario León, Juan Lucin, and the others are students from the Universidad de Guayaquil, and they are studying to be English language teachers. So welcome all of you, and thank you, Luis, for inviting younger people, much younger people than us, because Zoom will be gone, and they will be the next.
And they are the next generations. I'm so happy that you are all here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, before we finish, I wanted to share some examples of some activities that I have implemented with my students as a way to trigger agency in the classroom, and maybe they could also be useful for you. So let me just share my screen one last time to share some examples of activities with students. The first activity is the Igniting Learning cards. And I work visually with cards, yes, with my students. So the Igniting Learning cards activity works in the following way. First of all, you share a question with your students. In this case, the question that I chose to share with them is, how do we help each other learn better? Because I wanted to focus on the concept of agency and all the elements I've mentioned today. So the question for them was, how do we help each other learn better? Okay. Each student had to
Monica,
answer this question.
could you repeat
How do
because
we
you were
help each
frozen,
other learn
Monica?
better? No problem.
Okay.
So first step of the activity, step number 1.
Okay.
Question. We share the question with our students. How do we help each other learn? Second step. Each students in groups. If you are face to face, they get together in groups. If so, take out rooms. Okay. When they are in the group, are we okay? Are you listening to me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, yes.
Are we okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So step number 3, we get them together. Yes. Remember that each student will have one idea. All right. So what they need to do in the categorize these ideas. Categorize them. For example, maybe some ideas are about interaction, having more interaction among themselves. Maybe another idea is we could use more visual activities. Another okay. So what students need to do in the group is categorize the ideas that they came up with. Yes. And when they go back, they have to share the categories. Okay. This is an example of one activity you can create. Is called my next step. In my next step activity, you invite all your students to share the conclusions about on the wall. They have to go and pick one idea that they liked. One idea, remember the question was, how do we help each other learn better? So let's imagine the reflection circles, just to give an example. I take this idea and I have to think as a student, I have to think about one action. My next step. So I commit to doing this action about this idea. Okay. And you write the next step on the post-it, and then you go back and you stick it again on, so that all students have one action per idea, and they are all involved in the action. Okay. So these are just 2 examples of activities that you can use to trigger agency with your students. Okay.
Okay.
Did you like them?
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. So I think we are coming to the end of the session.
Yes.
So shall we have some questions, reflections,
yes,
comments?
Yes, please, Monica. Number 1, let me, on behalf of everyone, thank you so much, because this is the 3rd time, I guess, you are with us, or 2nd, but I know that you work hard, not for money, like the song goes, but you work hard because of the feelings, emotions, well-being, and self-esteem of everyone. And that is something that I admire from you. Thank you one more time. So Carmen, Raj, Luis, Michael, Lucien, Mayrin, Nathalie, Leon Suarez, Nathalie, Luis, Sonia, anyone, Arteaga Lopez, Silva Moran, anyone who has a comment or a question. We have 6 minutes. Michael from Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jaime. Thank you very much, Monica. Like I said, you are talking to me this morning. Now I have.
You have to pay, Michael. You have to pay.
Yes, I will. I will pay. Good.
Please.
Monica, please. I want to ask a question. The question is, there is 2 questions. First and foremost, like you said before, the needs of our students are different, and I cannot meet all their needs at the same time. How do I manage this? The second one is, sometimes I am engrossed into looking for a way to satisfy my students' needs. By so doing, I will empty everything about myself. How do I take care of myself? Because sometimes, it's somebody that is that has strength that can walk. I believe that. If you are not, if you don't have strength, you can't walk. So these are some of the things I'm having, kind of creating the balance between two. Your ideas will be very.
It's a great. These are great questions, Michael. So I will go a little bit about my views, okay, on the first question, that is this question of personalization. And of course, we cannot personalize everything for every single student. And I think it is connected to your second question, in fact. So I would like to focus on that one a little bit. And I have to share a word with you that I learned it the hard way, okay? And this word that I would like to share with you is boundaries. We cannot pour from an empty jar. We cannot give if we do not. And I always, as I am always delivering sessions on teacher well-being and so on, I use this image of our energy, being in a jar. We need to pour water or fuel or whatever you want to call it so that we can be available for our students. And the word boundaries has to do with, we can only help others in the same measure as we take care of ourselves, okay? The problem is that we teachers are always giving everything from ourselves, but we need to be very much aware of the fact that we have to take care of ourselves. We need to know our boundaries. Yes, boundaries are good.
Monica?
Available.
Yeah, we only heard the last part that you
Yes.
said when you said boundaries are good.
Good, yeah.
Okay, so boundaries are good in this.
Yeah, we can hear you.
No, they're frozen.
Yeah, Monica?
I'm back. I
Yeah.
think that my connection is quite weak today. I'm sorry about that.
No, don't.
So
That's okay. That's okay.
What I was saying is that these boundaries are very important because we need to take care of ourselves so that we can be better available for our students. It is not the other way around. We cannot pour from an empty jar. So when I use the term boundaries, Michael, I refer to this aspect of knowing where we have to stop to re-nourish, recharge our batteries so as to be even more available for our students, because this is our passion, right? This is what we love doing, but we need to recognize our boundaries, our limits, so that we need to know when to stop, when it's time for our own self-care, so that we can be even more available for our students, okay? And the term boundaries, I am using it, of course, from a healthy perspective, that we need to set those boundaries even on ourselves in many cases, right? So if we are working 13 hours a day, our energy will be depleted. Our level of connection with our students will decrease. This is a natural process. So the question is, how do we stop? And how do we take care of ourselves? So
and
as
the answer is
better teachers.
and the answer is take a holiday in London.
So we wish so, but we cannot do it now. So
Okay.
my idea is what I always call micro healthy pills of well-being. What do I mean? Take your pauses during the day. Take 10 or 15 minutes to meditate, to do your breathing exercises, to go walking, to dance, to sing, to do whatever nourishes your soul. And then go back to your teaching. Have some coffee, as I do.
Have some wine.
Have some, well, I don't know during the day, because then we have to keep on teaching. But anyway, I mean, my point is,
weekend with your friends and family, have time for yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well,
it is necessary.
Yeah. Anyone else? We have just one more minute.
Yes, just to say that the concept of self-care is essential here, as you were saying. I've been asking lots of teachers, especially female teachers, and when I asked them about self-care, I said, what? And they start thinking, they didn't have the time to reflect about self-care, because as we, and women as well, I think we have this idea that we are there to help everybody, the husband, children, then students, but we don't give time for ourselves. So if we are not in a good state of mind, if you are so stressed out, then we won't be able to give the best that we could, right?
I think, Jaime, our next session should be about teacher well-being. What do you think about that?
Definitely. It is settled.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, I have shared my email address in the chat. Okay, so if you want to be in touch, or if you want to share some other more questions or reflections, I will be absolutely happy to read you and to get back to you. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Monica. Thank you, Carmen in London, Raj in Canada, Luis Bermudez in Ecuador. Could you tell me who your students are, Luis Bermudez?
Please raise your hands, guys. Raise your hands. So
raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, go.
Okay, those are them.
Good students. Thank you so much,
León
Suárez Rosario, Diana Scott, León Suárez Rosario, Sonia Astudillo, I can see here, Lickner, Quintanilla, Arteaga Lopez, and Michael. And thank you, dear Monica, for your time, for your expertise.
My pleasure.
For your passion, for your feelings and your emotions. I'm sure that your husband and your children are very happy to have a woman in the family like you, and so are your students.
Thank you so much.
And so are we, because it's always a real pleasure to listen to you and meditate and reflect with you. Thank you so much. Your final words or your last words, Raj?
Well, I think it was amazing. Monica, love your passion and love your clarity, and integration is totally important. And the last word, I think he's talking about you. Do you get the last word, Monica?
Okay, your last words, Monica, on this.
Yeah, I am just thankful to always, for sharing this reflection space for teachers. As I said before, I believe in circles of learning, and this is another very nice and very warm circle of learning, Jaime, that you have created with teachers and teachers to be from all over the world. So I am only honored to be part of this. So thank you so much. And I hope to see you all very soon.
Yeah, we will. And I hope to see everyone next week. It's Father's Day, but it will be Dr. Emeritus, Master of Masters, and the Men of the Men, Edison Santa Cruz from Ecuador. He will be talking about some speaking tasks. So Luis Bermudez, if you want to invite more students and anybody wants to bring more students, that will be great. Because we need young blood. So thank you so much in Facebook Live and everyone. See you next Sunday. Goodbye. Thank you one more time, Monica.
Happy Sunday.
Bye-bye.
Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Yes.
Bye. See you soon.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Michael. Bye-bye, everyone else, Raj, and everyone else. Bye-bye. Take care.